Welcome to CivilNet. Our guest is Çengiz Aktar, journalist, public intellectual, professor, friend of Hrant Dink, and someone who is not just active and vocal when it comes to Armenian-Turkish relations, but also about the development of politics, democracy in Turkey. And those of us who've been following these two processes over the decades understand probably as well as does the Turkish public that the two are inextricably interrelated. Çengiz, thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you for speaking with us. And please help us understand how it is that this government, this ruling party, the AK party, that has been enormously, surprisingly open, liberal about so many things, remains so unopen and so illiberal about so many other things. Is there a pattern? Is there a way we can understand this?
Well, I mean, they were indeed very open, and they were very democratic, very groundbreaking when it comes to democracy. But that was not surprising. Not surprising in the sense that they were representing oppressed groups. Actually, the majority group of Sunni Muslims in Turkey, which were declared illegitimate.
So today's rulers,
as much as those non-Muslim groups who were not only declared illegitimate, but also were wiped out.
And today non-existent.
Exactly. So, I mean, historically speaking, they represent a sizable, group which fall victim of this state, of this nation building, actually, which took place late 19th, early 20th century in the Ottoman Empire.
Okay.
But when it comes to non-Muslims, of course, they know, I mean, those rulers, the top brass, of course, know quite well what happened to those non-Muslim groups who are non-existent. But they have been through, yeah, I think they know.
In their bones, they know.
I think they do.
They haven't rationalized their way out of this?
No, but they feel it. I mean, they have heard so many stories about them, but we shouldn't forget that they have also gone through the Turkish education system. Which of course shaped their views and their ideology, but not that much their ideology, but also the way they understand the Turkish or Ottoman history. Now, the second element is that they are Muslim. They are Muslim, but I don't think that their Muslimhood or the way they are incapable of empathizing with non-Muslim groups is due to the fact that they are Muslims. It's different. It's something else. They are at the end of the day some sort of ittihadist and Kemalist themselves, because in Turkey the matrix ideology is ittihadism and Kemalism. Of course, it was incomparably courageous and straightforward when it comes to these horrible events. At least they didn't impede anyone to go ahead and discover the reality. Themselves, they have been quite functional when it comes to this national Turkish exercise that I call the return of memory. I mean, after all, the Surp Harç of Ahtamar was repaired by public money, and but they are not capable of pushing their reasoning till its bitter end.
That's why.
That's the thing.
That's why I keep asking, do they know in their bones? Because look at the irrationality of this situation. They've spent public money, made a public decision to renovate Surpaç. And when you visit Surpaç, instead of being pleased, satisfied, positive about this beautiful site with its beautiful environment and atmosphere, instead, I'm furious that, again, I don't exist there. There's no word Armenian in the whole thing.
This is why.
It's this. Why do they set themselves up for that? Why do I have to be furious with them?
But I mean, this is exactly why I prefer the restoration of Surp Geragos to that of the Surpaç. The first one was done thanks to non-public money. Of course, every money is public, but the municipality was involved. Other voluntary benevolent groups were involved, and this is much more. And it opened up, and it never lost its characteristics of being a church. So it's now functioning as a church, whereas the other one belonged to the state. And this is why it reopened as a museum where a public mass is allowed once a year. Now, to go back to the AK government, I think I would like to repeat here and underline that they have done, with no comparison possible, because they were acting against those taboos who were set by their predecessors.
That's the frustration.
CHP.
That they could do that.
Yeah, exactly. But still, they have done a lot, and they are. I think the best they have achieved was to allow the Turkish society to go that way and to think differently about all these tragedies, genocides, etc. So it's them who did it, and they are still, despite everything, they are still quite keen on keeping this movement alive. Now, they have, but among them, there are many and more, and we know them, who are recognizing the very reality of the events. There are those who apologized, among them, and then not only liberal Muslims did, and those are public figures. My theory is the following. More the Turkish Muslims, especially the Sunni Muslims, which represent the majority in the country, will empathize with those groups, non-Muslim, non-Turk Kurds, non-Sunni Alevites, will empathize with all these groups and with all what they suffered, more the Turkish democracy will be strong. It is a big challenge, and when I hear the Turkish Prime Minister, in his bombastic speeches, when he talks about the Turkish nation and the solidarity within the different people of the country, he always starts by talking about, of course, Turks, Kurds, Laz, Cherkess, and Arabs, etc. And I always expect when he will pronounce the Greeks, Rums, Armenians as part of the nation and actually part of the land. No one is, or less and less people in Turkey are, I repeat, accepting this way of, this version of the history. And it's a very slow exercise. You should understand that we are fighting almost 100 years of de-memorization. And Turks don't like much reading. I mean, this is also, unfortunately, a national feature. And people, well, are just watching these lousy TVs and learning what they learn. I mean, and well, but again, the country has achieved, had made incredible advance the last 10, 15 years, and I think it will definitely continue.
No, there's no question it will change. It will change because the Turkish people want it to. It will change when the Turkish government is ready to. The frustration, of course, on the Armenian side grows as new generations come who have no business continuing to live in this environment, who instead ought to be living in that Armenian Turkish trying to understand themselves environment. But we wish you luck because you're carrying the burden, and
we are all carrying the burden.
We're carrying
diaspora, Armenia, Turkey. But what I don't like to talk in terms of states. I think I prefer to say Armenians, Turks, Kurds, all those who used to belong or still belong to Anatolia, and but now who live in various places on the earth.
Thank you. Our guest is Çengiz Aktar of Istanbul. Thank you. Our guest is Çengiz Aktar from Istanbul, talking about the AK party, the ruling party in Turkey, and its sometimes slow, sometimes fast, sometimes forward, sometimes backwards lurch towards democratization and inclusion of all of the people that have lived on those lands over the centuries.